That's me. I know our two boys got it, and within 3 days they were fine. My wife and I,
Yeah, that's nice.
yeah.
Yeah. Which I'd rather be sick than the kids.
You just have to keep running around.
Yeah, right.
So remind me what I need to do with this thing.
Just wake it up with a click. It's woke up right now. Just if it sits too long.
Afternoon. I'll call the KIPDA October 27th meeting to order. Obviously, if you look at me, I am not Judge Vogel. The judge was unable to be here today. I am totally unprepared to chair this, but I think we can get through it with your help. We will start with roll call.
Thank you. Honorable John Black. Honorable Bernard Bowling. Honorable John Logan Brent. Honorable Sean Carruthers. Honorable Byron Chapman.
Here.
Honorable Beverly Chester Burton. Honorable Jack Kaufman.
Here.
Mr. Matt Munay for the Honorable Bill Deere. Mr. Brian Dixon. Honorable David Eaton.
Here.
Mr. Jeff O'Brien for the Honorable Greg Fisher.
Here.
Honorable Jeff Gahan. Mr. Keith Griffey.
Here.
Mr. Chubby Purcell for the Honorable Treva Hodges.
Here.
Honorable Dan Ison.
Fair.
There's Mayor Black, so I will get him.
He always makes a grand entrance.
He does. Honorable Todd Pollock.
Here.
Mr. Kevin Beatty.
Here.
Judge-elect Travis for the Honorable John Riley.
Here.
And thank you for coming here. We will welcome having you as our official board meeting in January. Honorable Joe Robinson. Honorable Jerry Summers. Honorable Jim Travis and the Honorable David Vogel. We do have a quorum.
Very good. Welcome everybody to the board meeting. We will move it as I normally do, rather fast. If I get ahead of you, please let me know. Don't get upset if somebody stops me and says, "Whoa, you forgot to do something." So please correct me. We have before you the minutes. Are there any additions, deletions, corrections, other concerns with the minutes?
Motion approved.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All approving? Aye. Opposed? We thank you. Item September financial statements. Tom, please.
Where is Tom?
I'll get ahead of Tom.
Dustin, would you mind checking out?
We will come back to Tom.
Well, while we're doing that, I want to recognize that Matt Munay and Judge Summers have both joined us also.
Good afternoon.
I'll move on to the Transportation Policy Committee. Andy, please give your report.
Thank you, sir. The KIPDA TPC Transportation Policy Committee met in this room this afternoon at 12:30. On today's agenda of note, I'll go through a little bit. We had a guest presentation from Karen Mohammadi. She's a consultant that works working on behalf of KYPC on their long range planning efforts. They have their long range transportation plan out for public comment right now. And through the first round of public comments back in supposed to spring, this region was very well represented. So I encourage everybody to go look that up if you weren't in this meeting earlier and go submit your comments regarding long range transportation in Kentucky. Next agenda after that was Nick Bale presented our CMAQ priorities. CMAQ, Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Fund. Those are the funds that come to this region in Indiana, but in Kentucky, those are centralized in Frankfurt. And so the MPOs are required to bring in the projects from our region and then submit a priority ranking to Frankfurt. And then once it gets to Frankfurt, it's up to them what to do with it. And so those rankings were prioritized. TARC battery electric buses were the first ranking. LaGrange Road improvements were second, and then third was a Louisville Metro light duty vehicle replacement and some charging stations that go along with that. It does appear that most projects are likely to get funded in Kentucky. We don't know if all will get funded, but many will, and so hopefully all three of those will. Two or three more to mention. One is the dedicated funding programs. Nick Bale presented a lot of cost shifts and phase shifts and cost increases with the inflation that's hitting every project. So what that has done for this ongoing call for projects, it has eaten away at the amount we will have available through this ongoing call for projects so that we can prioritize those projects that are in the pipeline right now. Right along with that, he spoke about the ongoing call for projects. For those in the room that might not have been there today, October 31st, next Monday, happy Halloween, is the deadline to get those projects into KIPDA, but that window's been open since August. And then we also gave an update on the Safe Streets for All grant. That's a regional grant, urban and rural, Kentucky and Indiana. That's some unique funding that's become available to the infrastructure hall that this region has put in a really competitive application. We are looking to meet for the first time, probably in November. Alex Pazorski should have sent me, the folks in this room, an email invitation to that, or a doodle poll, an email invitation to follow. That concludes my report.
Very good. Action required on this report.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion? Accept. I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Andy, while you're there, I'm gonna just run through yours and then we'll skip back to Tom. So if we'll take the transportation or destination data contract.
Yes, sir. So many of you all know that KIPDA has been a subscriber for the past 3 years for a data provider that we heavily utilize. The name of the company is called Streetlight. So they provided us with some origin destination data. 3 years ago, I came to this room and asked request permission to start that contract, and we thought at that time it would replace what's called our household travel survey, and it pretty much has. But what it's also done is provide us a lot of other data that we've partnered with a lot of agencies in this room, KYPC and NDOT also, among others, to provide a lot of traffic data over the last several years. We had a 3-year contract, or we had 3 one-year contracts, 2 renewals, I suppose. That is up, and so we need to renew. We either need to renew for Streetlight, but what we'd like to do is test the marketplace, so to speak. And so I'm here today to request permission to issue an RFP in the coming weeks and months, or month or so, for either Streetlight or whoever it might be. They do have a few competitors. They have more competitors than they probably did 3 years ago, to be honest. So it is a big expense for us. Just for reference, we do spend, I think right now it's about $109,000 annually up to this data. So it costs us a lot of money. So it's worth paying attention to, but we use the heck out of it too. So I'm simply here today to request permission to issue an RFP in the not too distant future.
Are there any questions? Do I have a motion? I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Very good. Andy, the Indiana MPO conference.
I'm actually going to defer to my friend, Mr. Greg Burris here, and he did a tremendous job coordinating this conference for us that we hosted earlier this month. So I'll let him get all the glory here today in front of you guys.
Thank you. Thank you all. For ones that don't know me, my name is Craig Burris. I'm the community outreach specialist over transportation. Do a short little presentation just to bring up kind of when we were tasked with all this, we didn't really know what to expect. It had been since 2019 that it was hosted in person, and the 2020 obviously was canceled. The 2021 was done over the computer. So first thing, most of the staff hadn't even done one of these. I think only 3 or 4 people on the staff had even done an Indiana MPO conference because it is rotated among the Indiana MPOs. We only get it about every 10 to 12 years. So Jeffersonville was nice enough to host it. We hosted it at 300 Spring over in Jeff. We had a welcome speech from Mike Moore, the mayor there, and other little highlights from it. We had a welcome reception over at the Union Game Yard Restaurant. That was really well received. People that came to go from that one. Anybody that has not been over there, it's more of just, not just a restaurant, but it's also, they have huge games over there, cornhole, soccer, every kind of thing you could think of. So it's as well as food and drinks. We also went out to the local flavors for catering. It was a Savor This Catering and Stumblers for both breakfast or for breakfast and lunch, both those. We had 30 speakers from the local, state, and regional areas. Also want to definitely give a shout out to the board members who spoke. Kevin Beatty of Clarksville, Andy Crouch from Jeffersonville, and Jeff O'Brien from Little Metro. Our keynote speaker came all the way from Denver, Colorado. Kyle Wagenschutz came down to speak about complete streets implementation for just regions in the area. And we had almost 180 people. That was what the big difference was. Yeah, we expected, we were kind of ballpark, we thought maybe 125. We were like, man, this would be great. We had 180 people attend, as well as a sponsorship. We definitely, again, we just thank our sponsors. They were the big reason that this was able to take off the way it was and provide a great opportunity. Just some highlights from it. We had T-shirts that we gave away to all our participants, as well as other swag bags. We had mobile tours throughout. One of them was the bike tour. We also had a walking tour over the second Albany Bridge, as well as a bus tour through Jeffersonville. That we want to thank Tark for providing the bus for that. We also went to one of the soccer games. Local city was in town during the conference, so we were able to attend that. We had over 30 people attend that, and really just great weather all over. Man, it really cooperated with us. We had highs in the 70s, and it was just terrific for both mobile tours as well as the soccer game. As I mentioned, just great speakers throughout. And then that logo there, a little bit of news coming from that. So that was designed from Field Trip. They, if you don't know, they're the ones that designed our logo for KIPDA, our rebranding that we just did, as well as they do our rideshare program. They did an in-kind sponsorship where they provided us, and they did the work for the logo as well as some of the other artwork. That logo now is being discussed as being the Indiana NPO Council logo for going forward. So we're working on trying to make sure that makes that happen. But that's just kind of late breaking news came through from the conference. But we had award winners as well. So like I said, it was a smashing success. Definitely thank all the staff with KIPDA. Really came together, helped us out. It was a process that I'm glad we only do every 10 years. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. If anybody has any questions or comments, I'll also take them.
Thank you for a very good report. We will back up to item 5. Tom, if you will, financial statement.
All right, thank you, sir, for the delay here. Agenda item number 5, it starts on page 19. In your board packet is the September financial report. The first page is the summary of work elements grouped by division, and we're 25% through the year. And you can see that generally we're on target. We're going to have some things that we've got more activity in at different times of the year. So, but it does show that we don't see any problems on this report. And then followed by the agency-wide line item revenues and expenditures, and similarly, we don't see anything in either the expenses or revenues that looks like we're going to have any kind of problems there. The last part of the report, starting on page 26, is the balance sheet, and that shows we're in a sound financial position. I'll be glad to answer any questions anyone might have.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a motion, it's a second. Second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you. Next item will be Regional Transportation Council. Randall, please come forward, and Judge Vogel, I'm glad to see you here. I will move over and let you.
No, you keep going. You're doing a good job. You need to practice.
Thank you, sir. Randall.
Thank you, Judge. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation like my counterpart Greg did, so I just used a paper copy. How about that? The Regional Transportation Council meeting met at 1 o'clock in KIPDA conference room today. We reviewed and approved the October 27th minutes, had public comments, talked about the county transportation updates in the KIPDA ad region. Went over the Kentucky's for Better Transportation update and talked about electric vehicles, right, Judge? So we had Justin Herrick from Kentucky Transportation talk about the Kentucky electric vehicle deployment plan, and I heard all the electric vehicle charging stations going up in Henry County. Judge, I don't know about that. So.
We're amped out there.
And then right, and then the next agenda item was the bylaws and goals and objectives, where it's made a motion from Judge Pollock on both the bylaws and goals and objectives for the RTC goals and objectives. And then in other business, our next Regional Transportation Council will be January 26th. We will not have a RTC meeting at the annual board meeting this year, so our next one will be January 26th. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Are there any questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve? Have a motion. Do I have a second? Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
I just want to recognize Randall. He was named the lead of the Area Development District's rural transportation planners. In that capacity, he's going to be the liaison with the transportation cabinet, as well as help distribute information across the Commonwealth and help mentor the new planners. So I just think it's commendable for Randall's leadership. So thank you for doing that, Randall.
Thank you, Randy. Next item is FY23 water and wastewater projects. Felicia.
Hello, good to see some of y'all. The Regional Water Management Council met on October 11th, 2022 in the KIPDA room and via Zoom. At that meeting, the council heard from Debbie Landrum, the director from KIA, and she updated the council on the cleaner water project funding phase 1 and phase 2. And the deadline for phase 2 was October 14th, and we did meet that deadline. And the council heard from the KIPDA GIS specialist on regional mapping update. And Justin Carter then presented the council with the water coordinator's report. The council approved 12 new drinking water projects and 16 new wastewater projects for the KIPDA region. And agenda item 11, page 36 in your book, the new projects that were approved are all listed there. There's about 38 of them, so if you don't have any questions, you can ask, but I'm not going to read them all. And then agenda item number 10, you will find the fiscal year 23 KIPDA regional drinking and clean water priority project rankings. Action is requested to approve this report and accept the fiscal year 23 water and wastewater projects, fiscal year 23 regional drinking water priority projects, and the fiscal year 23 regional clean water priority project rankings as presented and approved by the Regional Water Management Council.
Are there any questions?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next item, cleaner water program projects.
In agenda item number 11, you will find the 38 cleaner water program round 2 projects that have been submitted by 2K KIA on October 14th. There were 38 new projects that were submitted from our region for additional funding from the Cleaner Water Program. And these projects were chosen by each county's regional water council. No action is actually required. I just wanted you all to have a list of all the new projects that we have submitted.
Ours is not right.
It is not.
And I know because that's the longest clean water
Yes,
meeting
ma'am.
we've
Which
ever had.
one?
This project was not chosen.
These are just new projects. I'm sorry. So these are not all, these are the new
That's
projects.
what I thought.
Yes.
But you just said.
You are correct. I did say that. But these are all the new projects. Phase 2 are also in here as well,
Which
plus
ones are
additional.
actually approved, though? Is that,
For the
so these are all these projects, but not necessarily the projects we approved for cleaner water grant.
for the phase 2.
Yeah.
Sorry, Justin's on Disney World right now, so I'm just filling in for him. What's the phase thing on there? These are the new projects that were submitted. These are the Cleaner Water Program Round 2 projects.
Judge, the projects for Henry County were the filter #1 rehabilitation project, Henry County Water District #2 water tank cleaning and painting, I-71 exit 34 sewer extension, the Newcastle wastewater treatment plant lagoon sludge removal, Pleasureville area water system improvements.
That didn't get approved.
Judge, can we meet with you after this meeting
Yeah.
to review those?
This hit in the amount of the 72,000. Remember, we needed an additional 100,000, or we needed additional 190,000. Carrollton Utilities said they could get it down. So this is what the amount was that we actually were asking for phase 2. Thank you.
And then the other two projects were the Cane Run Road upgrade and the Bowling Branch Road water line extension.
Are we clear or do we need to table? We're clear? Okay. Other questions? Do I have a motion to approve it? Have a motion, do I have a second? Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Judge Brent, I can't tell you how much I'm gonna miss you.
I gotta tell you why I was tardy, Judge. So I'm out here in the big city at the intersection of Waterson Trail. I was on there, got slammed into the back. That never happened in Henry County because we don't have any stoplights. And so I was kind of thinking back, checked out, looked at the old car and all the damage is on the front end of the car from the deers we've hit. So there's no damage in the rear, everything's all right. So I go up here, come in the building. My neck gets a little hurting on me, gets stiff. And I think every day somebody says, Judge, what are you gonna do in 2 months? And I'm like, well, maybe I better go over and see if there's a police officer and get a report. This neck might get to hurt me a little worse, in the coming days. Might be my departure plan. So sure enough, I went back down the road, the police are all there. I said, just in case, I said, you better write me up as a part of this incident in case my neck does get to hurting worse than it does. So that's why I was late.
You leave the scene of an accident, is that what you're trying to tell me?
But I came back and I wasn't at fault. I was the
You don't know
leader.
that you weren't fault. That
I was
old
the
Crown-
leader in
that
this
old
fire.
Crown Vic you've been driving 4 years, hadn't had tail lights on it in 4 years.
I turned it off when the officer went back there. She didn't know that.
Well, now the question is, were you in a county vehicle?
I wasn't a county.
So the new judge will get a new county vehicle upon your leaving.
Only if the jailer wants to hand him down.
We thank you. We're glad that you didn't have to go to the hospital. Next item, CED budget amendment for equipment purchase.
The
Please.
said division is asking for a budget amendment up to $50,000 for the purpose of purchasing equipment and associated training for that equipment with the COVID-19 CARES Act funding. We had available funds from surplus funds for the KIPDA COVID-19 project that needs to be spent by the end of the year. Amending the budget will allow us to purchase additional equipment. There'll be 10 laptops that are purchased, 8 for social services, 2 for the IT department, 2 OWL 360 cameras for this meeting room, as well as a drone for agency use. This amendment has been approved by DLG And so action is requested to amend the current SEDS budget and the purchase of new equipment.
And just to go a little bit further, this was the EDA, as she said, the EDA CARES dollars that for the disaster pandemic resiliency, which Jennifer Wilson had used for the resiliency plan, which will be up next. But it's also the funding that was used for the broadband feasibility study that we had put in for the region as well. And with the deadline approaching, these were expendable, these were allowable expenses, and it just freed up the budget in other areas by the ability to purchase these laptops out of the EDA dollars.
Are there any questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item is resiliency plan approval.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Slides that I'm always working on. Again, I'm presenting the pandemic recovery and resilience plan. It's not in your binder. So I emailed copies of the board on Tuesday. And I'll now go over its key points. As background, KIPDA received CARES Act funds from the EDA specifically for pandemic-related resiliency planning. The EDA defines economic resiliency as the ability to recover quickly from a shock, the ability to withstand a shock, and the ability to avoid it altogether. One of our projects was the development of this recovery and resiliency plan. It makes recommendations for continued recovery from the pandemic and ongoing resiliency for the region. It is connected to KIPDA's comprehensive economic development strategy, or SEDS, with which Ethan Shruggy will speak about later. So the plan first presents the pandemic's impact on various areas of life in the region, including the economy, workforce, business and industry, tourism, healthcare, education, local government, public protection, the judiciary, community events, community services, transportation, and infrastructure. We collected data and surveys and then analyzed them to determine key impacts and factors in recovery. The plan also summarizes the various recovery measures that were implemented at the federal level, such as the CARES Act and the American Rescue Plan Act, and at the state level, such as executive orders covering everything from telehealth to elections, as well as public health department measures, and also at the local level, such as eviction relief. Local universities, nonprofits, trade associations, and others also contributed to the recovery. As we analyzed all those sectors, 5 strategies for increasing resiliency emerged. The plan presents each of these and then includes several action items that partners in the region can collaborate on. So the first strategy is to prepare plans and communication. 2 of the action items under the strategy are establishing a contact database and network and having emergency operating and preparedness plans. The second strategy is to strengthen the region's telecommunications network. Action items involve pursuing broadband grants and engaging business to e-commerce opportunities. The third strategy is to cultivate outdoor spaces. Action items involve considering changing zoning to allow more use of outdoor space for businesses and developing new outdoor recreation opportunities. The fourth strategy is to attract and retain talent. Action items include identifying skills gaps and workforce needs, and also supporting workforce development programs and training.
Sorry?
I said it's past 2, but I'm getting ready to go. The fifth strategy is to support small business. Action items include exploring EDA revolving loan programs, which provide loans to businesses that are not able to obtain traditional loans, and partnering with local economic development engines for training. These strategies and action items are consistent with the types of strategies and recommendations being made by other area development districts around the state and similar regions in other areas of the country. We would like to request that the board approve the KIPDA pandemic recovery and resiliency plan. And so therefore action is requested.
Are there any questions?
Motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is ARPA fund update.
All right, I'm also presenting an update on ARPA administration. KIPDA is under contract with 1 county and 31 cities in the region to assist them with the administration of their ARPA funds. All of them filed their annual project report on time in April. Since then, they've been continuing to develop eligible projects to serve their communities. Examples include grants to small businesses and nonprofits, parks and recreation projects such as walking trails and campground improvements, fire and police vehicles and equipment, and premium pay for frontline workers. Treasury has been continuing to issue new guidance and change the requirements for how the funds are spent. We have been working to monitor these changes and communicate these to the local governments for assisting. And of course, we're also happy to share resources with other counties and cities as well. So please call anytime if you have any questions. That concludes the update, and I'll be around later if you have any questions.
Very good. No action is required on this. Next item is CED committee report. Ethan.
So I'm gonna be talking about the SED committee and also the SED's executive summary, which begins on page 48 of your binders. So KIPDA is designated as an economic development district by the EDA, which requires the development of a comprehensive economic development strategy. Development of the 5-year SEDS update ended on October 19, when the SEDS committee granted full approval of the document. The committee's approval began a 30-day public comment period, which will run through November 18th. This was the first year that we put together a SEDS committee, and I found it to be a very good process that has enhanced the participation and development of the SEDS. The full SEDS document can be reviewed at kipdaseds.org, and if anybody has a comment on it, you can email me directly, and I will incorporate that into the final version of the SEDS. We will be coming back in November at the November board meeting to ask for full approval of the SEDS document, which will then be submitted to the EDA. And the deadline for submission to the EDA is December 1st. In addition to the full SEDS document, we have provided the executive summary in your binders. This is a summary of the contents of the SEDS. It outlines the new features that have been included, outcomes from the SWOT analysis and action plan, and a summary of the responses from the SEDS survey that was conducted. In the new features section, the physical resilience included new data from the FEMA National Risk Index, which measures physical risks for each county. It uses data on expected annual loss from natural hazards, and it also uses data on social vulnerability and community resilience. The top hazards in the region were tornado, cold wave, strong wind, lightning, and ice storm. And the full SEDS document also included information on flooding in the region. And the SEDS also added resiliency strategies that were developed through the Pandemic Recovery Resiliency Plan that you just heard about. In the pandemic resilience section, it also included information from the Argonne National Laboratory that developed a metric to determine which counties have recovered back to pre-pandemic levels. And based on their data, there have been 3 counties in the region that have recovered back to pre-pandemic levels. A SEDS survey was created, and we had 100 respondents that provided information that aided to the development of the SEDS. For the SWOT analysis, the top strengths in the region that were identified were parks and recreation, schools, beauty, natural landscape, geographical location, and public services. The top weaknesses that were identified were affordable housing, public transportation, lack of social services, broadband, and lack of skilled workforce. The top opportunities were tourism, workforce development, agriculture, local food economy, and infrastructure investment. And the largest threats that were identified were lack of affordable housing, aging infrastructure, aging population, being able to sustain growth, and the lack of funding or revenue. The SEDS committee broke up into subcommittees to work on each individual action plan goal. And the goals that were developed were promoting economic growth, workforce development, transportation, water and wastewater, and quality of life. The subcommittees developed numerous strategies to create outcomes, identified future milestones that should be achieved, and identified metrics that should be used to measure success. The future milestones were used to create the evaluation framework, which includes the performance measure, the entities responsible, the estimated timeframe to achieve the goal, and the current status. And all of that information can be seen on the full SEDS document at KIPDA.org. In the survey results section, the summary included a graphic detailing the industries that should be targeted within the region. Respondents also prioritized regional services. These included childcare services, workforce development and job training, affordable housing, high-speed internet, and equitable access to healthcare. The top strategies for economic development that were identified were infrastructure, workforce development and retention, quality of life, business incentives, and talent attraction. The top capital improvements that were identified were broadband accessibility and road improvements. And then other priorities also included public transit, water and sewer, parks and recreation, community facilities, and downtown revitalization. There's no action required on this today, but like I said, we will be coming back in November for full approval of the SEDS to get that delivered to the EDA before their December 1st deadline. And you can go ahead and review it and let me know if you have any comments.
Very good.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item is Division of Social Services Business. Jessica.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to speak to you on agenda item number 16 in your board package, I believe. I'm going to skip around a little bit, if y'all bear with me.
It's on page 56 in your old sports packet.
Thank you, page 56. I have several items to ask for approval and action on today, but there are three of them I believe I can take together. And they are the ratifications. They are the CDC No Wrongdoer, the Geriatric Workforce Enhancement Program, and the Title VII contract. The CDC No Wrongdoer, we're going to show you a clip here in just a moment after I finish talking. We had received funds, various funds for COVID, CDC being one of them. Those funds expired on September 30th. During the month of August and September, we worked on various ways to strategize how to use those funds before the end date. And Dale has suggested that perhaps we do a commercial that provides information about our services and COVID information, which another AAA had done out there. So we looked into quite a few places on how we might do that. So we were able to spend those funds to purchase some commercials, to advertise our services, and to let them know that they can call us if they need information about COVID vaccines or places to go. We're going to show that one of the commercials to you in a moment. So we're asking for ratification because that was added towards the end of the contract and approved by our executive director. The next one is our web contract. I know there's a typo in there. It's not 2012 to 2023. It's 2022. If you're familiar with that one, we've had that contract for quite a while. We usually get it later in the year. That's our Geriatric Workforce Enhancement Program that we work with several entities here in Louisville to increase education for future professionals and the current workforce out there. We work with students, we work with doctors' offices, we work with universities, for university professionals, professors, to assure that they are aware of what services are here for older adults and how to care for them. Part of that contract is also we are the primary agency that helps to connect that program with other AAAs in the state. We work through about 9 of them. I think we have 3 left that we're working on this contract cycle. So asking for ratification for that. And the Title VII contract is the Ombudsman elder abuse contract with the, there was a change in legislation in Ombudsman for assisted living facilities, and they did updates to the contract. That came to us fairly quickly and was asked for, or came to us and was asked for a very quick signature. So that's our long-term care. So volunteers, staff that go into assisted living facilities, long-term care facilities to assure that individuals are receiving the care that they need. If they are not, then we advocate on their behalf. Elder abuse is education and awareness. So please ask any questions, but I can take those ratified all together.
Are there any questions?
So these commercials to be produced.
Yeah, we're actually going to show you. Would you
Well,
like to see
they've
it
already
before you
done.
vote on it?
It's kind of been a lot of stock footage, so it's been produced. Paul, do you want to go ahead and show that?
Yeah.
Thanks at the top of the screen.
This is the final edit. I don't know, let's see. He's in the next one. It was a new adventure for us. I'm actually kind of excited about it.
Oh, those are info.
Also, I think the entire KIPDA staff and social services anyways got a black and white mosaic. All of everyone on the board is wearing blue. I love it. Blue is- Y'all look fantastic out here today. Also, hopefully this commercial will make up for the fact that I don't have a beautiful presentation for you all today because these other two teams, I'm fascinated, especially. Here you go back there. That was bullshit. I love the way.
We want to move forward and then we can come back.
Wait, okay.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I like what.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. We got it? All right, very good.
Sound.
I'd be reading it to you right now. While Paul's figuring that out. I'll move on to a shorter one. The Title 3B contract amendment, which should be the last agenda item on there, and then I'll go back to the first two. Tri-County Community.
We all want a full life that lets you keep doing what.
Do you want me to hold on?
It's okay, go ahead and play this.
We all want a full life that lets you keep doing what you love. The KIPDA Area Agency on Aging and Independent Living provides resources so that older adults and those living with disabilities thrive in their community, offering information and support with programs like home delivered meals, caregiver assistance, information on COVID vaccines and boosters, and more community resources. Live your life to the fullest. Visit KIPDA.org or call 502-266-5571.
What about the person pushing the wheelchair? What was going on
We
there?
support caregivers. Todd.
They were in a hurry, weren't they?
Did it say in there what KIPDA is? I mean, did it say Kentucky Regional Planning and Development Agency? I think a lot of people may not recognize what an acronym is.
I agree.
We can change that and spell it out. Yeah, not a problem. Understood.
I think that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, we'll change, we'll ask them to.
Make
that
them be a-
modification.
Visual, not, doesn't have to take up the audio.
Yes, understood.
What is your plan for audience? Is it a TV audience or is it a?
It is, the commercials will run in November and December on WLKY and WDRB at various times of the day. And then both of those stations actually have additional channels. One of the ones we're most excited about is the WE channel. Is anybody familiar with that? WE TV. Me. Sorry, PTV. Why do I want to call it WE?
No.
PTV. Too many stations. But it has a lot of older adult viewers. And we will definitely report back to you on, the outcome of presenting these commercials and, how many additional calls and people looking for services.
And all these calls will go to Brittany and her team in the ADRC, so she's expecting a surge in calls.
Each month to show her some support.
Any other questions?
Yes, we will get that spelled out. I agree. That would be helpful.
Conclude or?
That'll conclude that piece of that, and I think if not, we have a vote for counter forward.
We did have a motion and a second and a vote.
Back to the 3B contract amendment, which is the last one on that agenda item, and then I'll go back up to the other two. Tri-County Community Action Agency, had requested an amendment to their budget that reduces the total number of units for telephone reassurance, but does not, reduce the unduplicated client count. I want you all to know that because it's very important. Telephone reassurance, is provided differently to each individual based on, care plans, needs, available volunteers, et cetera, and so forth. So these telephone reassurance calls can be made to people, or are made to some people 5 days a week. This particular request, for instance, would, in the easiest way terms, maybe reduce calling a person 5 days a week to 2 days a week or 3 days a week. It does not change their overall budget financially, but it reduces the number of units. So they're balancing out Oldham County's unit rate to 550, and still keeping that service. And I just want to say to each and every one of you, Dale has made changes to telephone reassurance that myself, our executive director, are advocating on. Working with them to let them know what the impact of documentation. Primarily, it becomes a case managed service for a service that is meant to be that check for someone. So we still have active and ongoing conversations with Dale about how this impact has affected providers and volunteers and where this documentation has to be entered. I think it's important that you all know that because this request is not a request that I wanted to be presenting to you today. But I'm so thankful for the providers that we have because they've absolutely refused to allow any client to go without service. And Tri-County being one of them. So I'm asking for approval to allow them to reduce the units, still maintain client contact with these clients. It's not changing their overall budget for telephone reassurance.
Are there
I
any
need to
questions?
abstain.
Okay, we
Yes,
have
I'm sorry, our abstainer.
an abstain. Is there any other questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Did I hear
Abstain.
opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain, Judge Vogel. Okay. Very good.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll move on to the top two, which I skipped over. So first, home care. This is our division asking for permission to release an RFI for home care services. If you recall, we lost a home care provider from this contract. We also worked through an increase proposal, thank you, to provide additional home care services, increasing that unit rate for our remaining home care providers. That has made a positive impact. At this point, though, we have 5 overall home care providers. We lost one. We have one that has some challenges out there that we're concerned about. And that's the remaining 3. When we went through the increase proposal last year, Dale had asked about an RFI for services. At that point, we didn't feel that it was necessary. We're not sure that we will get a response at this time. But I feel it's in our best interest and our community's best interest to see if there's another home care provider out there that we can pull another one in. So we have sent that RFI to Dale. They have approved it. And we're requesting your permission to release that RFI to the community.
Any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
I think we need a break. Last but not least by far. Wheels is our primary provider for senior center transportation in our multi-purpose and Jefferson County region. Wheels has informed us that they are unable to provide center transportation to the multi-purpose community action agency region. I will need an extension for this one as well, I believe. But we have reached out to Tri-County. Some of you may know that already, because I know you sit on the board there, to see if they could possibly provide center transportation and multi-purpose, because obviously we want to assure that our current providers, if they are able, have the opportunity to provide center transportation. They have responded to us with a request for Shelby County, which we are currently evaluating. But we know that's not going to be for all 3 counties in the multi-purpose region. So we're going to have to put out there an emergency RFI, and an RFQ, obviously, if we get some responses, to see if we get some transportation in one or all three of those counties, if we can't provide service through Tri-County Community Action Agency in Shelby, right? Shelby's the one.
Shelby's the one, Tri-County, and then Bullitt and Spencer were the ones that we're still lagging.
Right. So there's a proposal out there for potentially Shelby. If that works for Tri-County and we can reach an agreement, you know, we'll evaluate that and bring it back to you. But we need to RFI to make sure that we have all those counties covered.
Sure. Any questions?
Oh, and Wheels is still providing the non-emergency medical in those counties, just for the record.
And this all goes to a staffing. It's the same that I think everybody's experiencing. It's what's impacted on the home care side. It's what's impacted on the transportation side. They can't get the drivers to provide the service.
Question? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve as submitted? I have a motion. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you all for today.
Very good.
Oh, one more thing, Chairman, I'm sorry. I'm gonna place, this on the table back here, if anybody would like to grab it. We're part of HPS in Louisville. We've been working with that project for 5 years. In fact, we were instrumental with, some other community agencies in getting it off the ground. It's time for the strategic planning survey. If anybody would like to take it, or you'd like to take it home to your constituents, I'm gonna leave it back here. There's a fancy QR code on this one. We move it up and over, you can click on it and take it. Thank you.
Very good. Next item is SHIP's open enrollment update. Brittany.
So currently we're in our SHIP open enrollment period, or annual open enrollment period. That started on October the 15th and will run through December the 7th. So we're chugging right along. We've promoted this on our social media pages, on our Facebook, also in our newsletter, letting the beneficiaries know that this is a time for them to do some plan comparisons on their Part B drug plans. Even if they think they're the best plan, there might be time to look at it and see if there's a better plan. We recently mailed over 7,000 open enrollment notifications to the KIPDA region. So those went out last week or earlier last week. And so individuals should be receiving those shortly, or may have already received those. And then what they'll be able to do is give us a call. We'll have a SHIP counselor who's able to take that phone call, get their information, put them on our SharePoint that we use to keep track of the people that are calling in. We'll mail them out a plan comparison sheet. They can complete that sheet at their leisure, hopefully before the end of the open enrollment deadline. They'll mail it back into us, and then we'll have a SHIP counselor contact them back and complete a plan comparison with them and give them the top 3 plans that are best for them. So if you all have any questions.
Are there any questions? No action is required on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great report.
Thank you.
Next item is dinner discussions for family caregivers. Amanda.
Good afternoon, I'm Amanda Davis. I'm the National Family Caregiver Coordinator.
And I'm the coordinator for grandparents raising grandchildren.
And we are having a family caregiver conference for the first time in 2 years. There's a flyer that Paul will pull up. It's the first one since the pandemic. It's the first one that Mary Ann and I have been a part of. So it's been a learning adventure. It will be on November the 15th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Best Western Fair on Dixie Highway. There's going to be a catered meal because we felt that caregivers don't get to get out and eat a good dinner. So we are going to have a plated meal for them. There's going to be different breakout sessions, and those will include information about Medicare, legal issues, especially for grandparents, but also for caregivers like power of attorneys, trust wills, and information about Alzheimer's and dementia as well. We have extra flyers for you if you would like to take them back. And I also have flyers about my program, just a quick one about that I can help caregivers with incontinence supplies, respite, different type of medical equipment that Medicaid and Medicare can't pay for, all they have to do is just call our friend Brittany at ADRC and they'll get them connected with me.
And also that Flyers Development Program, and they can call the main number and get information about the grandparent program. And with the economy the way it is now, a lot of grandparents are asking for help to help raise their grandchildren.
Are there any questions?
Oh, sorry, I meant to tell you who we're partnering with in the conference. It's the Alzheimer's Association, AARP, the Traeger Institute, Peace Hospital, and of course that.
Very good.
And we'll leave these on the table if you would like to pick them up and take them back with you.
Ladies, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Is this something that can be moved around, or is it just it says first
Is it
time
gonna move
2
around?
years, but this location. This is really picky, but blue on purple is hard to read. I had to look at this thing fairly hard to see where is this gonna be, but it's not easy to read, but
This one might be a little clearer for you. I actually copied this from the copy
oh,
machine.
well, that's okay. I got it, but
Us
Dixie Highway's kind of hard. for
us
Shelby
boys
County
from the
to-
south end, we picked up on it quick, so we're good.
So Mary Ann and I actually created this nice big proposal and submitted it to the Norton Institute to do a caregiver conference, and we wanted to take it county to county, either coupling 2 counties together and doing it so we could meet the caregivers where they are. Because you're right, people can't travel to this. So we submitted that and they turned it down. That is a goal of ours, is to be able to do something county by county for these people, because it's not ideal.
It's not really feasible, and especially for grandparents too.
So, can we talk to you about hosting one in your county? Do you have a space available for us?
Yes.
We would love to. So please reach out to Amanda.
I mean, there are people
Space
who
is
are afraid to
available.
come into town, who live out some of these.
Totally agree.
Or
Yes, yes.
traffic is heavy and the what you hear on the news is not encouraging about people being attacked or whatever.
Agree. And when we started the planning process, I actually brought it up to do it county by county. And the people that we were working with did not necessarily think that was a great idea right now.
Okay, well, what would you say the cost of putting this program on is?
Well, we had to pay,
Well, in your county, it'll be different than what
Yeah.
it is in Jefferson.
we
County.
paid for the venue, we paid for the
Yeah.
venue. AARP is taking care of the food for catering. We got our speakers, we didn't have to pay for them. I'm trying to remember how much
It's
it
okay.
cost.
Here we go. We will gather that up, present it to you, on an average of what it might cost in a rural county, but truly it's primarily about the space. If you can provide us space.
Well, Judge Ison's got probably a free space. I've got a free
Yeah.
space.
Yes.
We've got a place to have this stuff.
Free would be excellent.
We don't-
Yeah, but if.
We
you
have
can-
community.
Right, and we talked about that. We talked about using, community centers, the cooperative extension offices. I know the one in Shelbyville has a very nice
Yes.
conference room there.
Yeah, but please send those to me, copy Amanda on spaces that you think, caregivers could get to. What time of day do you think it may be best? And we can work on a plan for those. And help us sponsors for food, because like she said, our funding pays for space and supplies and presenters and things like that, but we can't purchase food. But that's one of the reasons we partner. AARP, they'll provide the food, we mix and match it. You guys know that, you do that with all kinds of things as well, but yes. We'd be excited to come close with you.
Yes.
And if it's a space that has a virtual option in it, even better, if there's a way to go a virtual option, because, caregivers have difficulty leaving the person they're caring for, so.
Yeah, we learned that through the pandemic. A lot of people like to do support groups and stuff virtually.
And we can reach out to all of you all individually and try to do the plan.
Right, if you come to Oldham County, we'll make the John Black Community Center.
I've been there before.
No problem.
Yeah. I've been there before.
So there's some available dates.
Yes. Yes, we would love to do that.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We are. We just finished our first year, so it was very helpful to go through.
First year.
My year was in.
New to this meeting.
No, we've
Have you been
spoken
here
once
before?
before. Yeah. Yeah,
All right, great job.
thanks.
you know, have a timeline when you hope to get all the meetings in? I mean, like this was November. I mean, y'all do next spring.
We want to do it in the physical year, right?
Yeah, and to be honest, we can do this every year, but yeah, we'd like to get them in before June 30th. So if y'all want to do a spring one, you want to do a winter one, let us know.
Well, winter's kind of not nice, you know, you can have a snowstorm or something.
Oh, well, yeah,
Messes it
I
up.
meant those colder months, maybe not on yeah, I know out there, yeah.
We have bad weather up there.
Yeah.
Jared told us about free nights lodging at hotels.
Stay there, okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Let's move on to October personnel report. Kelly.
Yeah, you know when it gets to me, it's all the meeting's almost over. Okay, so we had one new hire in October, Terry LaRue. She's been hired as a service advisor in social services. She started September 27th. She earned a bachelor's degree in sociology and a master's degree in school and community health promotion from the University of Louisville. She comes to KIPDA from Centerstone, where she worked as a principal case managers. We had two promotions in social services. One was Karina Williamson. She was a kind of an HCB service advisor / Michelle P. waiver case manager, and she became a person-centered service plan specialist. That started October 3rd. The same thing with Ashley Gray. She was a home and community-based service advisor, and she has been promoted to person-centered service plan specialist in the Division of Social Services, effective October 3rd. Position vacancies, we have 3 service advisor positions, the home and community-based waiver. We have 1 transportation, actually I take that back. Since this was written, we have hired a transportation planner who will start Monday, Chris Nicholas, so that will be straight. We have 1 budget and contracts planner, a position open in social services, 3 on-site connectors in the Division of Social Services, and actually 2 of those have been hired since this was written. 1 support staff position in social services, 1 ADRC specialist 2, and 1 ADRC nutrition assessor in social services to be hired. These job descriptions can be found on our website. Currently we have 80, I guess 2 or 3 now in full-time permanent and 2 part-time permanents. That concludes my report. Actions requested.
Are there any questions? Did I hear a question?
No, that's a motion.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? We thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, intergovernmental reviews. Jerry.
Items A and B can be taken together. They've been distributed to the local communities for comment. There has been no comment received, so action is requested to approve these 2 items.
Are there any questions on it? Saying none, do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next item, November annual meeting.
As a reminder, in the past, we have historically gone to one of the local hotels to do our annual meeting. Last year, we hosted it at the Jeffersonian in J-Town. And to make a new tradition to go out and kind of highlight our region, we're going to have our November meeting in Oldham County. Judge Vogel was gracious enough to offer the John Black Community Center. So we will be meeting there at 9:30 for the Transportation Policy Committee. At 11 o'clock will be the annual Board of Directors meeting, and then there will be a kind of an informal luncheon to follow without the program, so just more of the opportunity to fellowship. We'll be offering a virtual option to attend, but I strongly encourage everyone to come in person to recognize Judge Vogel's efforts this year serving as chairman, and also to say goodbye to several board members who will be serving at their last KIPDA meeting that day.
Good.
What are you feeding this Judge Vogel?
What's that?
What are you feeding?
What?
We're
Don't-
doing
don't
we're doing
lie.
it. KIPDA will do
We
it.
have a
so.
Henry County beef.
When he said informally scared me, I was like, I see like little finger food stuff. I mean, you're feeding us like. we're getting-
Italian. Are you okay with Italian?
I'm okay with that.
Pizza?
No.
Pizza.
Steak. I don't know about steak.
We're having fried ribs. We're an old, yeah. You gotta eat well. You gotta eat with well. We're an old.
All right,
Well, we're not going to have fried bologna sandwiches.
They
I
don't
can
eat-
tell you
They
that.
don't eat ravioli, you know. No hamburger, Bill.
All right, let's get back on track here.
Yeah.
Nominating committee.
Also, next month's board meeting, the nominating committee will present the 2023 slate of officers. the way that the officers are structured, we have a representative from Indiana counties, one for Metro Louisville and one for the surrounding Kentucky counties. They're always on the executive committee. So we structure the nominating committee to reflect the membership of the executive committee, and former KIPDA board chairs, Kevin Beatty, Mayor Chapman, and Judge Riley have agreed to serve on the nominating committee, and they'll be presenting that 2023 slate of officers during the meeting next month. And no action is requested on that item.
Very good. Next item is the executive director's report.
First, for the records to reflect, after calling the roll call, we have Commissioner Crothers joined us, Judge Vogel, and then also Judge Brent came. Judge Brent, I think last time you came, you were late because you missed your exit because the sign was down. So I'm glad that.
That was the time before last, but that is a true statement.
Well, it's coming to the big city. And
You remember that exit might come more than once twice a year.
I also want to recognize some of the guests we have for the governor's office. We have Joe Williams. Thank you for coming, Joe. From Congressman Yarmouth's office, we have Dana Mayton. And then also want to recognize State Representative Jennifer Decker, who is here. We've had you here many times in the past, so it's good to see you again. Thank you for being here today. For travel items, there is one item of travel for board consideration. It is the Kentucky Association of Counties Annual Training Conference, and in conjunction with that conference is the Kentucky Council of Area Development Districts board meeting. That's November 16th to 18th, with one staff member attending, myself. So action is requested.
So we have a motion. I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Anything else?
The meetings, which you've already touched on, so that concludes my report.
Is there any other business needs to come before the board today?
Motion to adjourn.
I like your motion. Thank you, Judge. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.